Hey everyone, I hope you're well. This is CoinsKid. Just going on to Bitcoin, but the CoinsKid crew. So I did make this tweet way back when. I've been quite bearish on Bitcoin for the past few weeks. Basically, I did anticipate a correction because of the 5 waves up. A lot of people saying you're an idiot doing what we're talking about, things like that. But like I relayed to you, I did think we were coming for a correction, and so far, that correction is playing out. Basically, a tweet I did make on May the 14th, and equally in the videos, for people paying attention. Hey CoinsKid crew, the crystal ball looks to be playing out with liquidity coming back into the market after leaving it in December last year. There seems to be some kind of mild pullback as it heads into late May into early June. This could time with a wave 2 correction I'm currently tracking for Bitcoin. The good news is that the crystal ball is still trending higher. So it's still trending high. You can clearly see we've got this mild pullback as we head into June, and this is exactly where we are right now. So something kicked off yesterday, and usually typically what we see towards the end of a correction, we do start to see some kind of FUD, some kind of news event, and possibly yesterday that spelled the end of the correction for Bitcoin. But obviously time will tell. But yesterday there was a tweet from Elon Musk that spooked the markets. I'll show you exactly what that tweet was. So the markets got spooked yesterday, and it's because yesterday Elon Musk tweeted out late in the evening, around about 10 past 8 UK time right here, time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. So there's some kind of conflict that's going on between these two. Don't really pay too much attention to it, but it did spook the markets a little bit, and we did see quite a significant drop. But I just want to remind you that we've not lost any structure, and we have been anticipating this correction for many weeks on this particular channel. And usually, typically towards the end of the correction, you do start to see some kind of FUD coming out and things like that. So we have seen 5 waves down on Bitcoin, and it may have spelled the end of the correction. So we'll zoom in the charts in a moment, but I just want to go through the indicators with you to show you why I don't necessarily think the top is in on this bull market for Bitcoin. I still think it has more legs to the upside, and a lot of people, they keep talking about this double top, but it's not doing something it did in 2021. I'll show you exactly what that is as well in today's video. So I've made a series of indicators out for you over the years for the CoinsKid crew. To get this indicator, just go to coinskid.com, and you're looking for the sell the effing rip. For those people who remember, buy the effing dip. This is why we bought way back when. I think it was in 2024 last year. Look at this down here, buy the effing dip at 50k. It tagged it, and it's not looked back. It almost approached it down here on April the 7th, but then it's turned around, it's come back up the stairs right there. So in time, whenever you start to see this green line being tagged, that's just a buying opportunity, okay? And this is an indicator created for the CoinsKid crew called BTFT, buy the effing dip. Real simple. Whenever you see the price dip below the green line, you buy as much Bitcoin as you can, and it's just simple data, not emotion. Look at it way back there. That was March of 2023. Look at that, beautiful. And this was a bottom in November of 2022, and we can go back even further. You can clearly see, look at that bottom there in June, beautiful buying zone. Okay, it made a new low, but what a buying zone, so go to the left. You clearly see here as well, tagged it way back there in September 2020 as well, beautiful. And just there at the bottom in, I think it was March the 11th 2020, beautiful. And keep going to the left just there as well, the bottom in process in late December 2018. Look at that buy zone. So whenever you start to see Bitcoin price action approaching this green line, you buy. And obviously at the time it doesn't feel like it, and this is why I created this indicator for you. So buy BTFD. You can get it on coinskid.com for future reference. Whenever we start to see the price action approach that, for me it's a buy. Really simple. Okay, so the other indicator I'm looking at, which is the inverse of this, is sell the effing rip. Let's take a quick look at that, because it's not tagged the rip zone so far, and this is why I do still remain bullish, and I still think we are well within the realms of this huge vertical here for Bitcoin and altcoins leading into the end of the cycle, and obviously your alt season. Let's take a look at sell the effing rip. So this is a really simple indicator to use. The green line approaching the red line, boom, get out of crypto. Look at that, way back there, 2017 December, approached it, get out. Just there, April, get out. And by get out, I mean get out of Bitcoin, not necessarily altcoins, because this is typically where we start to see alt season. Once this green line approaches this red line, this is where you see your alt season. We saw it there in 2018. In January 2018, we were running to alt season, pretty much when this was topping, and then just there as well. So you tagged it in April, then the Bitcoin came down, then a month later we topped in altcoins, basically, where you saw that alt season. And I've shown you the comparison and the characteristics of total 2 breaking out at that point, and I'll refresh your memory today as well. So this is a really simple indicator. STFR, whenever the green line approaches the red line, you swap your Bitcoin for altcoins, and boom, you ride that alt season. Really simple. Okay, so STFR, sell the effing rip on coinskid.com. Let's take a quick look at the dumb money indicator, because equally this is a sentiment indicator that I've created for yourselves that basically takes a sentiment of retail money, i.e. dumb money and smart money. Let's take a look at the dumb money indicator right now. So a lot of people are looking at this as some kind of double top. From here we've got this high, come down, made a higher high, and it's some kind of double top, and like pretty much like what we did in 2021, and Bitcoin's rolling into the bear and things like that. Obviously it's a possibility, but I don't necessarily envision that, because what we've not seen on these tops here is the characteristics of a cycle top with alt season, the waterfall in Bitcoin dominance and things like that. We've not necessarily seen that, and the characteristics between Bitcoin breaking out, having that lower high, and total 2 making that higher high, and which is something we've saw in every single cycle. But for those people that paid attention, I did say to you, I think we've got a warning shot here, guys. Bitcoin's going to come in for some kind of correction, because typically whenever we start to see this blue line approach this red line, it means that some kind of correction is coming in the market, and you have a small window of opportunity, which is where we saw a little micro alt season. And at this point on November the 12th, I did relay to you, okay, I'm swapping my Bitcoin for XRP here, because we've done really well on Bitcoin, but from here I think Bitcoin's around about 85k or something. If it comes up to 100k, whoopie do, it's like 20% move. But I'm looking at XRP absolutely breaking out in a vertical, and it did exactly that, and it was an amazing trade. I think XRP was trading around about 55 cents or something, and it went to $3.40. So the data won again, basically, and this is just something I relayed to you. So the data told us, okay, we've got a little window of opportunity here, but we will go through some kind of correction. So a lot of people were saying you're an idiot and things like that, but this data point here told me, okay, we're going to come with some kind of correction here, because retail dumb money is showing up in droves, and typically this is where they get dumped on, because they're showing up late to the party, as always, basically. Because remember, this channel is all about being smart money. So as we're coming down here, take a look at this. We've got this sort of A wave into a B wave high, again dumb money showing up thinking they're going to get rich, but it was a bull trap, like I relayed to you. I think it's a bull trap, be careful here. I think it's part of a B wave, it's a 3-wave move to the upside, and at this point we're looking for the 5 waves of death to the downside, where we countered and we jumped back into Bitcoin on April the 6th, and I relayed that opportunity to you. And from there you can clearly see retail dumb money is still not here, even on this all-time higher for Bitcoin around about 111k late last month, I think it was. Retail is still not here. So it's not like it was there, and it's not like it was there on this high. Retail is just not here. This is why I still think we've got further to go in this market, and what we've not seen, which is what we saw in 2021, is a double top represented within the data itself, where the dumb money shown up twice. If we move to the left, you can clearly see in 2021 we had 2 tops. We had one in the spring, which was basically your April, your lower high, which was your alt season, and then boom, we came back up late towards the end of the year, which I thought was a macro bull trap, and I did relay that to you, and boom, look at that, the data was showing up, retail was showing up again. And this is something we're not seeing on this top here. A lot of people looking at some kind of A, B, C, some kind of big double top drop, but if this was a double top where retail's getting dumped on, then we should have saw the retail and the dumb money attacking this red sell zone again. So for me, my primary at the moment is the fact I think that from late last year we've gone through an expanded flat A into a B into a C. We nailed this buy zone, we've had an impulsive move, and right now we're going through a corrective move, missing another impulsive move to the upside, which is basically a 3rd wave. So simple data is showing me that there's more legs in this market. This is why I do remain bullish on Bitcoin unless I start to see other data that suggests otherwise. So in time, just like the 2021 cycle, if we take a look, we did have 2 tops. We had the one in the spring and one late towards the end of the year, and I think we may be in for that again, where we've had this sort of double top here, and later on in this cycle I think we'll approach this red dotted sell line again. On the CoinsKid dumb money indicator. So to get to these indicators, just go to coinskid.com, follow the process and get involved. Let's dive into the Bitcoin charts right now, see what we can see. So quickly before we do dive into the Bitcoin chart with you, we have seen a move back up into the Tether dominance, into this God candle back test. Look at that, and we are seeing a rejection. So there is all the chance that what we saw in the Tether dominance from this bearish divergence that we created right at the floor for Bitcoin way back when in April, we have seen an impulsive move to the downside for Tether dominance, and we've seen an impulsive move to the upside for Bitcoin, because what we see is a 1 into a 2 into a waterfall 3 into a 4 into a 5. So if you take a look at this just here, this was in May, early May. I actually think there's an expanded flat correction here for the Tether dominance, and what we've got is a 3-wave move up, a 3-wave move down, and a 1 2 3 4 5. So this may be a simple A, B, C zigzag expanded flat correction, basically a 1 into a 2 into a 3 4 5, so on and so forth. If we start to see 5 waves in this last leg from this top here, then I think Tether dominance is coming in through its bottom, and at that point we're looking at the top in Bitcoin as confluence as well. So basically really simple, this bearish divergence has led to this move to the downside. We've seen Tether dominance drop down here with a bullish divergence, which has led to this move to the upside, and obviously when we start to see this coming up, Bitcoin's coming down. It's an inverse correlation, and this is something I've shown you every every single day in this uptrend here. Everyone's saying bear market, but I said to you, the first time we see a bearish divergence here, increased probability we're going to see this run for Bitcoin to the upside, and we'll see a pullback in this chart. But on the way down, we are creating God candle backtests, and this is exactly where we're seeing a rejection right now for this particular chart, which is, you know, possibly leading to the fact that Bitcoin may have bottomed there. If it's not bottomed, this is an A into a B into a bigger C, and then we, you know, do something like that in this particular chart. So this is a key area of interest to me. 4.95%. You can clearly see we rejected just there on this God candle backtest for the Tether dominance. In time, I do think, keep it in your radar, if you do start to see 5.34% being tagged, that is a long opportunity on your Bitcoin. Really, really simple. Okay, so from here we've got this bullish divergence just there where you're making high lows, and you've now come up and you've printed on this pivot point just there, you're printing a bearish divergence where you've got higher highs and lower highs on your key pivot points, and we are still red on the CoinsKid ribbon. So we are still in a downtrend on the Tether dominance, which is really important because that means that Bitcoin's in an uptrend. Really simple. And equally on the macro, for anyone paying attention, we are still making a series of lower highs here for the Tether dominance and lower lows. Okay, so this leg to the downside, if it comes, I'm looking at some kind of 1 into a 2 into a 3, 4, 5 down to 3.25%, where I do think that that is it. Bitcoin's done. That's the end of the cycle, and this is the confluence of this particular end of cycle theory that I've got as well for you. Okay, so let's dive into the Bitcoin chart going forward. Looking at crystal ball indicator, you know, we was looking at this beautiful, look at that correction pullback of liquidity late last year, returning liquidity way back here. I think it was sort of, when was this, sort of March, April, May, wasn't it? Got returning liquidity, and boom, you know, we're coming back up the stairs, and right now, you know, we've got this another little beautiful pullback here, you know, in liquidity, and look what's happening to Bitcoin. It's the biggest pullback since its bottom here. So again, you know, we're starting to sort of be right on cue and correlated to an absolute T to the liquidity, which is basically crystal ball, which is based on M2 global money supply. So what we don't see here in the global money supply, which is your, you know, your crystal ball, is a significant drawdown. So the minute we start to see this significant drawdown in your golden line, is that, you know, in time it will give us a clue that was sort of late, you know, 2024 right there. That is where we should be looking to exit Bitcoin. So until then, like I said to you, I'm just holding on for dear life here. And obviously it's really, really difficult to time bottoms and things like that. But like I've taught you over the years, time in the market beats time in the market. And those that pick bottoms get smelly fingers. Please remember that. You know, so just there, I was looking at an A into a B into a C. And like I said to you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nailed that buy zone. We've got a confluence of the crystal ball breaking out. And right now Bitcoin's breaking out. We've got this beautiful confluence of a correction late May into early June. And right now we're seeing exactly the same for Bitcoin. So if it's anything to go by, if we just, you know, stick into the correlation, then we should be looking at a vertical here for Bitcoin relatively soon, and we should still be trending up for Bitcoin. You know, obviously it's bumpy along the way. We get a correction sort of late June, we've got a correction just there in July, and then obviously we're still trending up, but you know, we're still trending up into August, which is amazing. And this could be confluence of fact. Okay, we've got some kind of 1 into a 2 into a 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth, and this is, you know, what we're looking at for Bitcoin. And this is confluence of the data points that I'm showing you, the STFR, we've got the dumb money and things like that, that this top is not necessarily in for this cycle. So let me zoom in on the 4-hourly time frame to see what we can see. Okay, so looking at Bitcoin on the 4-hourly time frame, this is currently my primary outlook, that, you know, what we've done is an expanded flat correction since late last year. A, B, C, 5 waves of death, countered that, beautiful. And what we've got is a very similar structure, you know, where we've got this B wave bull trap high, and we've got this B wave bull trap high. So we've got some kind of A into a B into a C, A into a B into a C. So this is the same basically. It's a falling wedge. You got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves of death in C, and possibly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves of death in C. So we may have completed some kind of A, B, C wave 2 correction, where you've had a wave 1 into the resistance of the God candle back test and the all-time high, and you've actually had some kind of expanded flat correction that began in May, and it's basically took roughly a month to complete. Okay, because we may have seen the completion yesterday with the Elon Musk FUD, which is typically what we see towards the end of the correction. We see some kind of FUD come out into the markets, which is typically where people, you know, sell and run for the hills. So we do have a little bit of a channel here for Bitcoin as well, which we respect, and you can clearly see support, support, support. And if we do start to see this break of this channel, I do think it could be a go time for Bitcoin. You know, we're sort of coming down this channel, resistance, resistance, resistance. If we start to come up and create a reversal pattern here for Bitcoin, even make a new low, which would be a bullish divergence, would be an absolute opportunity, in my opinion. Once we see this break of this trend line, I think it's all systems go here for Bitcoin, because if we take a look, you've got some kind of cup and handle pattern here for Bitcoin. Off this high to this high, you've come up, you've got your basin, you're coming back in a handle. Oh no, it's going to zero. You break out back test. See you later. Classic cup and handle pattern. And I relayed this in a tweet and a post in the Discord for the CoinsKid crew. If we start to take that out, you're up here. You know, you're going astronomical. You're going vertical here for Bitcoin, and you could be pushing towards 166k, which would be absolutely amazing. Now, people look at this and think, no, Bitcoin can never do that. But if we go back to the previous cycle, and we take a look at what Bitcoin was doing right towards the end of its cycle, look how it was going vertical. It came up, had the correction, looked like it was going to backtest to 20, never did, took off in a huge vertical, had this whopping correction just there, and just continued. It's only when it started to lose a 20, okay, you're coming in for your big whopping macro correction. And this is what we don't see. You know, from this peak here, in a short period of time, Bitcoin corrected 55%. And if you take a look in all of this, you know, we've had these sort of nominal corrections of 20-25%. You know, we're not seeing the quick rug pull, which is typical of your A wave down, you know, and we've not seen it in the cycle. So I think Bitcoin possibly 1 into a 2 into a 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth, and at that point we should see a quick rug pull. And the quick rug pull within a short period of time is also characteristics and telltale signs of the top right there, which we've not seen in all of this price structure going forward for Bitcoin. So I'm not a perm bull, perm bear, whatever, but I think we've got further to go in this particular bull market if we're just respecting the data that I'm looking at and the potential pattern that we're creating in these highs, some kind of cup and handle pattern. Then we should be in for a beautiful time here for Bitcoin to roughly 166k. It would be amazing to say that that's definitely where we're going to get to, but again, I've not got a crystal ball. I can't see into the future, although the CoinsKid crystal ball, which is based on M2 global money supply, it does show, you know, Bitcoin is taking off into the future. So if you are looking to trade Bitcoin, or, you know, buy Bitcoin or whatever, or get involved in the Discord and the indicators I create for yourselves, head on over to coinskid.com. Take care everyone, back to another update on Bitcoin. Stay up, stay strong, stay tuned. Bye bye.